Welcome to another episode of the Oxygen Not Included Beginner Guide series. And today what I want to go into is purifying germs out of our water. So if we look in this system, all of this is quite polluted. It's going to have, 2 million germs in it or something like that. This guy will stop it from being polluted, but it will not remove the germs. So this stuff is just as dirty or germy as it was. So if you don't want just standing polluted water because of the overflow, since you get more out of the bathroom loop than you put in, we could purify the germs and then just stick it into our normal tank because it'll just be normal water at that point. So that will be something we will be working towards. I'm going to actually hop into a test world to show off some of the different versions of this that you can do. One of them I'm not really a big fan of. Another one requires plastics, which we are not getting yet. We haven't gotten our glossy Drecos. And then the last one is probably what I'll end up doing in this one. Eventually I'll use the plastics for testing for germs, but I think the system should work. This is one I've come up with myself, so hopefully it's not terrible and it actually works. So let's hop over and check those out. Alright, so we are in the test world that I have set up, and I have sandbox mode on just for testing purposes. And if this sounds any different from before, it's because this is actually the second time I'm going to be recording this portion of the video. I just was not happy with how it went the first time, and one of the contraptions didn't work as well. So now I know. Now that I know that, I'll probably talk about it a little differently. So here are 3 setups that you could potentially have to remove germs from water. An important note is there's chlorine in the air. That's what is doing the germ killing. These are called liquid reservoirs, and when you put germy water into this in a room with chlorine, the germs will start dying off, as you can see here. They don't die off if you have them sitting in a pipe in a room full of chlorine. So anything in the pipes are going to stay germy. They're not going to change at all, which will be of important note when it comes to in between like reservoirs and stuff. Any liquid in here will stay germy, and anything in like these areas, if they're in the pipe, they'll stay germy, but we try to account for that. Another thing is we have liquid here, which as we can see is quite germy. I actually might grab some of this and make it quite a bit germier, because I realized that the water that we had in our base was quite a bit germier than what I had testing here. So now it's very germy. And then I have this pumping in water on a cycle. So it's on for a little bit and then off for quite a bit. It's trying to kind of simulate bathroom use. So your duplicants will every once in a while go into the bathroom and flush the toilet. So germy water will be constantly entering your system. So that's what this is trying to simulate here. And the last bit of the setup are these little rooms right here. This is where the water, once it's gone through the system, will be dumped here, so we can check to see if there are no longer any germs. So I think what we will talk about first is this guy. So this is the one that in my testing while recording this before just didn't work quite right. But there is a part of this that I want to discuss. So originally what I thought this would do would be the germy water will come in here and then it moves straight into this one. So this is just so that you can hold extra water. And then while it sits here, it's supposed to lose its germs, and then it would exit and then be tested for germs, and then either go back through the system again, or if it's germ free, be sent forward. But I found that it wasn't getting all the germs killed pretty much ever. So there was almost never any clean water coming out of the system. And that's purely because more germy water would get into this one before it could completely clean itself. But the part I wanted to discuss is this right here, because you can add this to any of the systems. All this does is checks for germs and sends it again if it's germy. So what we have is the liquid will come here, and this is called a liquid shutoff. And it can be ran with automation, which we have here. This here is a sensor for the cycle, so it's based on what time of day it is. And you could choose how long it runs and at what time of day. This is just so that it's not constantly running. And it allows for things to sit and kill off the germs before moving on. So that's what this part of the thing is. So when this is sending a red signal, which we can see here, when it's not the time of day, the liquid shutoff is closed, so no liquid can leave this reservoir and go here. Then, let's say it is the time of day where it's sending green, it'll go through this germ sensor, which is something that's very, very useful, but does take plastic to make, which is something we don't have in our base, and you won't have at the start of any game. So it's a little later, like mid to late game thing to get the germ sensor. So that's why we have to find ways to do it without this guy. But so you have the plastic. It will test any liquid that goes through it for germs. Then we have another one of these shutoffs with the automation. So we can see here. So this will send a green signal if there are no germs, which we have here set to 0. If it detects no germs, it will let the liquid out this way, here. But if it does detect germs, then the liquid will be forced back this way to re-enter the system. So, like I said, I wouldn't use this exact setup because it didn't seem to work here in the testing environment. I have used it a little bit in a base, and it did work all right. But I think it's just because there wasn't a whole lot of liquid entering the system. So if you have a lot of duplicants, this just doesn't seem to work. It kind of fails. So then the next one that I'll be talking about is this setup. And I've gotten this one from Nathan Sandbox, which is a YouTube channel who does a lot of tutorial and let's plays. So the way this one works is, let's actually adjust this so we can see it in action faster. Copy settings. Okay. So this one also uses automation. This is the one I don't like as much because it feels... It's not quite cheaty, but it also feels a little weird to use, in my opinion. But what it does is you set a threshold for how much liquid you want in the reservoir. And then it will send a signal through automation. So if it is less than the low, it will send a green signal, which we have here, which will then keep these doors open, which then, as you can see, makes it so that this considers itself like unable to function because it's technically missing a tile. So in most things, like a workstation or something, that would disable it. But in this case, what it does is it makes it so that liquid can enter the reservoir, but it cannot leave. So all the liquid that goes in here will sit here until it hits our threshold. And then once it hits its threshold, it will send a different signal, which will close the door, which then means this can function normally. And liquid will move into the next one until this opens up again. So what this is doing is it's making it so that the liquids have to sit there for a certain time period, and by having it move from like one into the next is it's keeping it separate from the new polluted, well, not polluted, germy water that comes in. So as you can see, we've met our threshold. The door is shut, meaning this can function. The liquid is now moving on, and it will continue to do so until this is full. This is basically, at the moment, we're kind of priming the system. But yeah, this is just a way to keep it so that you're keeping the newly germ-free water away from the new germy water. And this does help for, because I was discussing earlier how in certain spots you can have little pockets of germy water. So like there's a packet right here that's probably germy. And it won't be losing its germs. So this is a system that kind of helps deal with that because there's no packets waiting anywhere by having this open. Another reason I don't really like this setup is you're going to have a lot of warnings here. like this saying it's missing its tile, and if you don't power these, it will just say there's no power. So that's why I have created my own system over here. So if you see anything that you want to make a note of, let me know in the comments, because this is something that I've created myself. So what we have here is the first reservoir where the water comes in. Then we have the liquid shutoff like we have in the past. And it is being controlled by a cycle sensor. You could also fine-tune it and use a timer sensor, where it's kind of like this guy here. So you can choose how long it's red and then how long it's green. So you could use that instead of a day cycle, but right now I have it going for a little bit after the morning. So this stuff will all sit here from like the night up until the morning. And then when it hits this, it will let it all into this one, where it will sit until it reaches this part of the cycle, and then it'll send it out. And again, it's a way to keep the newly germy water separate from where it's clearing itself. So as you can see here, all this water is germ-free. So once this one hits the cycle, we'll be sending it off into our tank. Okay, so we've just reached, I might make this duration 10, and then this one maybe 20. There we go. So the first one's just started. And so now it's letting the germy water into this guy. And as you can see, it's getting that germy water, and it's killing him off quite quickly. So now it's turned off. And as we wait, here you can see the system not producing any water. It's produced some, but not as much as this one has, which is surprising because it was not working before. But yeah, this I think is already, yeah, germ-free. All right, we have now reached the other part of the cycle. So all of this should be germ-free. And it's sending it on. And then we've got clean, germ-free water. I think this one might be working a little better because I extended how the red cycle, so it's having a little more time to kill off the germs. But as you can see, there is a huge difference in the amount of germ-free water that we've gotten from the two different situations. This one works quite well once you've primed the system. But yes, this is what we'll be putting into our base. In the future, if I find that I am getting germs at all, I can use this here germ sensor system, but I don't seem to be having any problems with it, so I think we should be fine without ever needing the germ sensor. But let's go ahead and jump back into our normal save and get this guy built in a real world setup. Alright, we're back in our wee little base. Let me think. Trying to see where we're at before we jump into creating that system in a real example. I see we're working here to close off the cold biome. This guy's emitting at the moment, so once it's dormant, we'll close it off and everything. I've built a ladder here because there's some bleach stone emitting, adding even more chlorine into this area, and I'd rather than be able to get down to that and then put it into our storage bin up here. So, to get started, we'll need to do a bit of research, which we've done here. So we've got our liquid shutoff and we've got our reservoir. If we had plastic, the germ sensor, I think is under the medical. Yes, here it is. Under medicine, you can get the germ sensors for your liquids and gases, but we won't be needing that ourselves. So let's go ahead. I think I'm gonna just stick it right here and then pull in some of this copious amounts of chlorine. So we've got our reservoirs, our liquid shutoffs, our cycle sensor, and we'll grab our automation. I always grab the liquid valves. That's not what we want. We want the shutoff. There we go. So we'll get our automation. send it there to there. And then our pipes will be from here to there. From there into the shutoff, and then from here we can head out with what will be clean water. And this will be the line I bring in the germy water. I think I'm gonna take the clean water. Yeah, I think I'll have it come out right there. And then we'll have a vent. But I won't put that there yet because I want to make sure we have it everything built right before we start sending stuff into this water, just to be extra sure. And then we'll grab our germy clean water here. I realized when I was editing last episode that I never mentioned the fact that I built a deodorizer here. I don't know why I never took the time to mention it, but I saw there was a lot of polluted oxygen, so I stuck something here. So we've got a bit of nice oxygen hanging around. Oh, we have new principles. I'm gonna reject for now. See, there's a bit of hydrogen up here, so I'm actually going to run this a bit while I wait for them to finish building. For those who might not recall, we are trying to get this hydrogen down into this room. Oh, I think we may have just dug up some snow. Let's see. Doesn't look like it. Soon, though, we'll have some ice. The other thing I'm doing on the side is continuing to explore up the side of the map here. We've achieved something. Ah, we've reached 100 days with at least one living duplicant. Ooh. Come on. Dig. Oh. Well, I want us to get this ice in our base. Alright, so they finally built the air pump here. And we are going to try to vent everything that's in here out, and then we will send in our chlorine. We've got new printables. Oh, I am going to take the pacu here. So we're going to go ahead and print those 8 fish. And what we're going to need to do is remove this tile. They will survive here hopping around trying to find water. So if you remove a block, they can't jump up. But if we have it a straight across for them, they can hop their way out and into our pool. So that will be just a free source of meat. There we go. Now that that's open, as you can see, they're all heading out this way. And then they'll just flop down. There we go. And straight into our water. Nope, we've got our liquefiable finally. So now I can set this to ice, please. And I want that to be a very high priority since it melts. Now we can drop this ice here, and as you can see, it'll start cooling our water source, which will be good because the water coming out of here may be warmer. So they should help balance each other. We're getting pretty close to this being a vacuum. So then we will pretty much swap this, and we will have one of these outside, and we'll be venting in our chlorine. I have found another vent leaking into our cold biome. So I've started planning their path into this area. I wanted to avoid dealing with this liquid for now. So we're going off to the side and then digging across. Yeah, they should still be fine. Building a ladder, and then we'll put some insulated tiles here and close off this guy. There we go. It took it long enough. So we're going to want ourselves a little bit of a gas filter and a gas pump. We'll go in. If it is chlorine, we're going to send it out there. Otherwise, we're going to send it right there. Cancel that guy. Shouldn't have to do this for long. We've already got some chlorine in here. And then I will probably just have them just deconstruct this. I'm probably going to also, I've already told them to take this stuff apart, but I think I'm also going to have them take this stuff apart. It never really stopped any dupes from going in here, and it's free materials. We've got our analysis on this geyser going, so we'll be able to shut that up soon. Bubbles is so close. So close to being able to build our auto sweeper. This guy. Alright, so this is like next day Nox. So I've been editing the video and I ended up having quite a bit of trouble with getting the water to do what I wanted. So with this system here, even I tried putting like a bridge here so that like all this liquid would only overflow if everything was backed up, but that was not the case. So pretty much all of our water was going straight into here, which isn't what we want. So I'm going to be trying out a new system here. We're going to see how that works. But for now, we've got a printing pod and we've got a pipsqueak here, and I will definitely be printing this guy. They can plant seeds to make areas wild, so if you want to build a park or nature reserve, you pretty much have to have a pip. So that is why we're gonna get ourselves a little pip friend. Oh, also it should be noted I have loaded a previous save. So that I'm not having to deal with the problems I had with the water. So that is, you may see things that are slightly different than before, and that's just because I think I've loaded back 3 days in-game. Okay, I think this is going to work much more like what I wanted. What I wanted was basically this system right here, where if this is all full, then it'll pour some off, but otherwise it just keeps going into the system. So what I've done is I've put a bridge here at the very start of the line. So it will prioritize filling all of this first. But if this is completely full, it will start sending them down this pipe, which will then go down into our reservoir. Right now, there's a bit of a problem because there is a pipe here. So the liquid is going a bit backwards. Someone should be around to deconstruct that soon. Unfortunately, it does mean that I will be getting liquid all over the floor, which isn't ideal because it will indeed be germy, but it is what it is. And then the last thing we need is a liquid vent, which will go right there. Alright, I'm going to use this guy so we can double check that everything is working how I want. So it's going in. It's going every other. Oh, I'm dumb. Alright, let's turn this off. I see my error. It needs to come out here. Not there. Hopefully we can catch this at a point where there's no liquid. Alright, perfect. Alright, so now when we turn it on, it should do what we expect. Perfect. So now it's prioritizing that. Now that this is completely full, the extra is being sent on. Good. I did it. It only took days, but I did it. So yeah, that is our new system. We've got any extra going off this way, and it's being stored in here. And eventually it will end up in our tank. So I hope you guys have found this episode useful. We've gotten hopefully some purification stuff going on for the germs. It does seem like a bit of the germy stuff has gotten in, but it is also dying off in the water. So hopefully that's not too much of a problem. If it is, once we have the plastic, we'll have a germ sensor and loop the system. But for now, it's getting quite a bit less germs than what we initially had. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.